Hey friends, it's Simon Hurley here and welcome to another live stream. It's the middle of the week, happy Wednesday, and today I have kind of a surprise live stream for you. We had this really amazing skiing themed launch that we needed to slot in somewhere. My brother's wedding is this weekend, so we couldn't do that time frame, so we squeezed it in on this Wednesday. We wanted to get you guys the products as soon as possible so you can start creating even more Christmas and winter cards. It's a small but mighty launch, so today I'm going to walk you through the different die cutting supplies for the Christmas and skiing themed cards. Then we're going to show you how to use them and walk you through creating some cards with them. Now everything is available right now. I have links down below in the description box to this launch and also individual links to some of the products I'm going to be using in today's video. Using those links helps support me, so I really appreciate it. And also if you use the scrapbook.com link, don't forget to use whatever coupon code they have going at the time you watch this live stream. Right now, as it's live, you can use the coupon code EXCLUSIVE for an extra 10% off your entire order, which is kind of unheard of to get brand new products for 10% off. So definitely take advantage of that code. So starting off, we have this really adorable ski themed die set. This one is called Hit the Slopes. So there's 11 dies inside of here, and it creates these adorable skiers. How fun is that? And of course, you can create these with whatever color palette or style you want to. If you want to make them look a little bit more retro, you totally can. In this instance, and for the packaging, I took several different colors of the Spellbinders color wheel cardstock, kind of keeping it pretty monochrome for each one, but different shades of each tone. So here I used pinks and reds, and different blues and teals, and yellows and oranges. And check out just how fun and graphic these look. I absolutely love it. And then the faces on these guys, they still have little kind of smiles on their faces and stuff, but then you can cover them with goggles if you want to, or you can leave the goggles off. There's tons of fun customization you could do with this, but I kept seeing like skiers on different Christmas packaging and kind of like vintage look. So this was kind of our take on that, and I think you guys are gonna absolutely love it. So this is what it looks like on an A2 size card. So you can see they're quite nice and large. They're gonna be a great focal point with 2 or 3 of these on each card. Now I also wanted to share that all of the Spellbinders dies come detabbed, so they're already unattached for you. You don't have to go in and clip it apart. I find that to be kind of dangerous, so that process is already done for you with Spellbinders dies, which is amazing. They're nice and smooth, and you're ready to get right into crafting since they're all separated for you. So this is how this die set looks. I actually take my die sets and I put them on a Stamp and Storage magnetic card. I love these magnet cards because they've got chipboard on the back of them, so they're nice and sturdy and your dies aren't going to fall off. And of course you could put this inside of another pocket if you want to, but I just leave it out like this and I can flip through it. So this is kind of what the packaging looks like once you get it. You'll pull the dies off the backer sheet and put it in whatever storage you'd like. So super awesome die set. This one is called Hit the Slopes. I love this one. Okay, moving on into our next die set. We have this one called Ski Lodge. Now, of course, with all the skiers, we wanted kind of a fun grounding place for them and another kind of really great big focal point. So the Ski Lodge is super awesome to work along with the skiers. Quite large dies inside of here, and then this is what it looks like on an A2 size die set. So you can really see this one takes up quite a bit of the A2 size die set, or the A2 card front, sorry. It takes up quite a bit of it, and it's gonna act as a really large focal point on top of this card. I absolutely love how this looks. I think this is so much fun because you can of course use it along with the skiers and along with this theme, but we also have other things from releases earlier this year that has like different polar bears and different sentiments and like a North Pole, and I think that would be really fun to work along with these two. So I'll definitely have to bring this back in and use it along with those dies because I think that's so fun. But really adorable. Put it all together. Of course, you can do as much or as little of this as you want. We added lots of little details like these banisters and little stairs, and we also added little lights you can add on the edge, but you can really dumb it down too if you want to keep it pretty simple and get rid of a lot of that kind of fluffiness and just do a more simple looking A-frame ski lodge. But so much fun. I love it. And then again, I took all the dies. They come all separated out for you on here, so you just peel them off and put them right onto a magnet card. Again, this is the Stamp and Storage magnet card, and there's quite a few dies in here, but it creates the most adorable ski lodge. I love that. Okay. Moving on into our next product. Again, like I said, this is small but mighty launch. I think that it's really on theme, and you really get, there's only 4 products in this launch, but you really get a wide variety of ways you can use this very creatively. This next one is a 3D embossing folder. I love my 3D embossing folders, Spellbinders, and this one is called Streamline. Now, Streamline is an amazing 3D embossing folder. We really called it Streamline because we made it to work alongside the skiers very evidently here, but we also thought of other ways you could use it, and we like our embossing folders to be not just one singular use. And so with Streamline, of course, you could use it this way for skiers. You could also use it the opposite way, where the texture is kind of imprinted, which is how I would usually use it, because it kind of leaves the tracks of snow. But then you could also like flip it this way. And let's say you decide you wanted to cut it in half here. Now you've got this sort of streamer looking background, which I think could be really fun for like a party theme. It almost looks like little streamers hanging and confetti kind of going throughout it with those little dots. So super fun. Depending on what colors you use with this, you could really make it your own. You could also do a bunch of darker blues and make this look like water, kind of bubbles underneath water along with different waves. So really lots of ways you could use Streamline. That's why we didn't call it snow or snow tracks or anything like that, because we really wanted you to be able to use this all year round and kind of think of different other ways to use it. And so I'll probably be pulling this in for another live stream. I'm going to really show you how to use it as the snow today, but I'll probably bring this in and show you even cooler ways to use it. Yes, Ranger Patty says you could use this as mountains too. So imagine like ink blending that with some browns. Maybe you cut it at this edge and then you have this be like the sky and you make it into mountains. That's really a fun idea as well. So really great ways to use this, but I love the texture in here because you have not only the tracks, but you also have all these little kind of dots, which are kind of supposed to be like little snowballs or little piles of snow that fell off. But you can also, you know, it really looks like confetti or different texture of the mountains or bubbles underwater too, which is really fun. Okay, so that's the 3D embossing folder. I love my folders with Spellbinders too, because they're really nice and large. I think it's 5.5 by 8.5. So you get tons of ways to use it. And if you're just doing an A2 card and you want to cut this down, you can really choose which section you want to use, which I think is awesome. Very brilliant that they do those larger embossing folders. I absolutely love that because you get a lot more versatility with it. Okay. Moving on into our last product. This is a Betterpress and die set, and this has a bunch of different sentiments in it. This one is called Season's Greetings Sentiments. Of course, it says hot foils beautifully because this will also work with not only the Betterpress system, but if you have the Glimmer hot foil system, it will also work with that and do some really beautiful foiling, which I'll show you. Hopefully we have time to do both during today's live stream. So I really love these sentiments. Of course, you have sending warm hugs, you're so cool, your snow joke, Season's greetings, dashing through the snow, sending snow much love, baby it's cold outside, and there's no place like home for the holidays. And this font is so fun because check that out. It looks like it's kind of handwritten or like it was kind of like snow tracks. So I really love all of these sentiments. You get quite a few sentiments in this one set. What I love so much about this too is that you have all the sentiments on one hot foil plate, and then you have all of the sentiments on one die. So this makes it really easy because you can do one pass in the Betterpress and ink it up and do either the hot foiling or the inking with that. And then you can go one pass through with the die set and you get how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different sentiments in here. So really awesome that you get a ton of different sentiments. I like to go through and just hot foil or Betterpress a lot at once in one day, and then I'll usually put these in like a little craft sacks container or a little sleeve and keep these for when I'm crafting, because then it's really great to not have to keep pulling that out, but then to just have a bunch already made for you. So I love this set so much. You get a lot of different variety in here, and I love the different kind of like chunkier font, and then you get some that are lowercase, so you really get a good variety throughout this set. All this is available right now, all linked down below, so you can check out the bundle if you want to, and definitely check out any of these products, which is awesome. Let's bring out the Streamline folder here. this is what the folder looks like. Again, it's 5.5 by 8.5 inches. And then you can go in with a piece of stark white cardstock. I just take the full sheet of stark white cardstock and chop it in half hamburger style, and then you have the perfect size piece of cardstock to use with your embossing folder, which is great. So then what I always like to do with this is I just take a little bit of water beforehand and I just lightly mist it down, probably 1 or 2 sprays on either side from a little bit of a distance. You don't want the paper to be soaking wet, but you just want it to be kind of glistening, and this is going to get the cardstock ready to transfer with any texture that you have in the 3D embossing folder. If you notice that your cardstock is kind of cracking or ripping, or you're having issues with putting it through a 3D embossing folder, definitely spray it beforehand and hopefully you get a lot better results. That tends to help do the smooth embossing rather than giving cracks and rips throughout the cardstock. Okay, so we'll open this right up and place this right inside. Now, of course, if we were using a smaller piece of cardstock, you really have the freedom to choose what area you put this in, which is super great. But I'm just going to close this right onto the 3D embossing folder, and then we will run this right through the die cutting machine. So the die cutting machine that I'm using is the Spellbinders Platinum 6 die cutting machine. With this, when you're using 3D embossing folders, every company has a little bit of a different sandwich, but I'll show you what works for the Spellbinders 3D embossing folders, but always check with your manufacturer of the embossing folder to see what's going to work inside of the different die cutting machines. That way you know exactly what's going to work with yours. If it doesn't feel like it's going to go through, don't force it because you don't want to break your die cutting machine. So I'm using the Platform A base. We'll put that right down. Then I'm going to go in with the Streamline embossing folder, and we will place that right inside. And then the only other plate that you're going to want to use with this is the D adapter plate, which is this hard gray plate. And this is going to work with the 3D embossing folders. Yay, Michelle says she loves that folder. Again, it is just so cool. I agree. Wait until you see it fully 3D embossed. I think it really brings it to life. This design is just so much fun, and a little hint, it'll also work with a release that we have coming very soon in a week or 2. It's gonna work perfectly with that too. So if you get it right now, it'll definitely have a lot more use throughout the rest of the Christmas season with even more of my products, which is awesome. So let's go into here. I'm gonna place that die cutting machine down on the floor. And then let's jump right in and show you that Streamline embossing folder. Check that out. Again, those little tiny dots are really an amazing little detail. And I love that you have the inward kind of, if you want the snow tracks to be facing in, or if you want more texture and you want them to be facing out, you can use the embossed side as well. So super cool. And I also love too that like some areas have a little bit less of the embossed design. So if you want less skiers or if you want less details, you'll maybe go up here, and then there's a lot more lines going on down here. We do that kind of intentionally so that you can really, again, segment out different areas that you want to use and really choose how you want it to look, whether you want it to be busier or a little bit cleaner. Now, before we get in and do our coloring with this, because I really want to show you how I would color this in, I also want to show you, because I think that launches like this are always about bringing back past supplies. It's not always about just launching something new and hey, go buy the new stuff and don't use your old supplies. If you already have older stuff, I want to show you what's going to work with it too. And so immediately when we were designing this launch, we were all talking, and this Plaster 3D embossing folder is one of my favorites. I think we launched it either last year or the year before, and it remains to be one of my favorites, one of the top sellers in the line. So definitely keep selling it out, because otherwise it's gonna get discontinued and I wanna keep using it. So selfishly, I want this to keep being sold. But what's so awesome about this folder is it just has the most amazing texture, but it looks like snow in kind of a different way. So this is gonna give you that kind of smooth, skied, snowy look, whereas this is going to give you a lot more texture and dimension. So let me show you what this one looks like as well. And we'll kind of ink both of them today and show you what you can get with them. So again, we're gonna go in and just mist this down on both sides lightly, and then we'll go right in with our Plaster 3D embossing folder. So if you don't have this one, this is also linked down below. I highly recommend adding this to your cart along with the launch today if you don't have it. And if you do, you're definitely going to be able to use this with this launch too. It's gonna look amazing. Okay, so back in with the Platinum 6 die cutting machine. I'm going to go in with, again, the A platform base. Then we'll go in with the Plaster 3D embossing folder. And then we're going to go in with the D adapter plate. Place that right on top and run it right through my die cutting machine. And this is going to give us the most beautiful embossed look ever. I can't wait to show you. Everyone is always so shocked by this folder. And the reason why this folder is so cool, let me tell you why. So my team at Spellbinders decided to design it on the computer first, and then we just weren't super thrilled with how it looked. So then the awesome designers at Spellbinders went in and they actually bought some plaster, made a bunch of different canvases of this plaster design, and then we sent it into the manufacturer. So this plaster design is actually like hand done, which is so, so cool. So what you'll see in this is hopefully you can see this up close. I'm gonna get really close to the camera. Okay, look at all of that little like grit and texture that you get. This is just the cardstock. So keep that in mind. There's bubbles, there's grit. You can see where like the palette knife kind of went off a little bit, where it piles up a little bit more. There's more texture there. And all throughout, there is just so much amazing texture and dimension in this embossing folder. And again, when you flip it over, this is what the debossed side looks like. It just looks like snow kind of washed throughout. So this would be really great for either the skiers or the lodge to sit on. And it just looks like a great kind of snowy texture. And even if you want to just cut a little bit of it and use it as the ground and then make a sky above it, this is such an awesome folder to use. So check out Plaster as well. I wanted to mention that because this is a fan favorite, and whenever I can bring it back in and show you guys just how amazing it is, I always will, because when my team did that and they made this by hand, I was so shocked and blown away, and I think it is so amazing. So huge, again, thanks to the Spellbinders team for their amazing dedication to these 3D embossing folders and just making them so cool and realistic. So that one is so amazing because it's kind of abstract, so it looks like frosting or snow, or you could really use it in a lot of different ways depending on how you color it in again. Okay. So let's set this down on the side. Someone in the comments asked that they wanted to see, so Lisette says she wants to see the embossed cardstock again for the Streamline embossing folder. She wants to see the little dots. So totally, let me show you those. So this is the back side. So they're all impressed in. The dots aren't perfect either. They're kind of imperfect and irregular, which I think is so fun. It's meant to just look like little chunks of snow kind of fell off to the side as the person was skiing. So that is that 3D embossing folder. So much fun. So two really great options to go along with this launch. This Plaster one isn't new. Want to mention that just so you don't rebuy it if you have it in your collection. But if you don't have it, now is a great time to check it out if you like this release. Okay. So let's go in and start coloring this embossing folder before we move on to the next section of the design. So I'm going to flip this over. This is the embossed side where it's raised. I'm going to flip this over to the other side, and now it's debossed into the cardstock. So the raised area is whatever is outside of these lines. So that's the side we want to use for this technique. Of course, you could flip-flop and use whatever sides you want, but for this specific technique that I'm going to show you, this debossed side works really well. Then I'm going to go in with a brayer. This is the Distress brayer. This is the smaller one. They also have a medium one, but I really like this small guy for card making. It works really well. It's just the perfect size, kind of the little Lamborghini of brayers. So this one works super well. And then we're also going to go in with some paste. So I'm going to use a little bit of solar paste. I haven't used solar paste in a while, so I thought this was the perfect technique to bring it out for. We have Beluga and Royal Flush, which we're going to be using together on today's card. So we'll just jump right into here and grab a palette knife. Let's see, everything's scattered all over my desk, so I gotta like grab and go. Okay, so we're just going to spread out a little bit of that Beluga solar paste, and we don't need a ton. A little bit goes a very long way with this technique. We can always add more if we want to. And we're just gonna create a palette off to the side. So you don't want globs of color, you don't want too much. I take a very thin layer of this color, and then I'm going to spread it out like this so that we can just roll our brayer through it. You don't want too much because then it'll get kind of globby on your project. So nice and thin, and again, we can always add more if we want to in the future. You can put it down onto your craft sheet or glass mat so you can pick it up with our brayer then. So then I'm going to go in with my brayer, and as I brayer this paste onto my brayer, you want to keep lifting the brayer and picking the paste up. If you just go back and forth, you're just kind of rubbing it in the exact same spot and not coating the whole brayer. So to get the whole brayer coated, you roll and lift and roll and lift until that is fully coated. And again, not globs of color, just a very thin layer. And then we can go onto our surface and start brayering this down. Okay. So you're not going to see too much here. There's little chunks of paste that was already on my brayer. So good advice to clean your brayer, because you don't want it to get little chunks here and there from last projects. But this is going to give you a clear look. You're really not seeing anything on the project right now, but you'll see it when we tilt it in the light. So go in and lightly brayer down some of this color. I'm gonna start off with the beluga color, this really nice light blue, and kind of do it everywhere, but I lift my brayer and kind of skip some so that it's not just fully coating the whole design. I don't want it to be everywhere. I want it to look like snow that kind of glistens in some areas and isn't in others. And so we'll just brayer that on. Again, that very little bit of the paste goes a very long way and kind of cover that whole background for us. So that looks awesome. And you can already start to see, hopefully you can see that. Is the camera gonna catch it? It's really easy to see in person, but on camera sometimes it blows it out so you can't see it as much. But I hope you can see that blue shine. You get a really light blue tint, but when you're looking at it straight on, it still looks like just the white cardstock. And that's the magic of the solar paste, okay? The solar paste is a clear base, and then it's got that iridescent kind of mica in it that shifts with your project. So if you wanted to, you can add ink down first and make it kind of bluer, but I want to keep the white just looking like the snow to not distract from our other images. And then we're going to add the solar paste all throughout with our brayer, and it's going to create an absolutely stunning and really beautiful iridescent background. I'm absolutely loving how this is turning out. So pretty. And it's a really easy technique to do too. There's not too much effort. It's really hard to mess it up. So I hope you guys definitely try this. If you've got solar paste on hand, you're going to absolutely love it. Okay, so that is what our background looks like so far. In person, you can see the difference between the purple and the blue. I think on camera, it's kind of blowing the whole thing out and just looking like a white shine, but it's not. It has a little tint of color there. Now, by all means, it's not like bold blue when you tilt it in the light. It's just got a light, subtle look of that blue and purple, and I think it looks absolutely stunning. So cool, and a great way to apply the solar paste down to our project and really take advantage of the clear aspect of the solar paste. I'm gonna go in before any of this dries and just spray it down with a little bit of water. My pastes are water reactive, at least while they're still wet, so they're really easy to clean up while they're still wet. If they dry, it's a lot harder to clean up, so I highly recommend going in and cleaning anything off of your glass mat or surfaces or tools before you continue on with the rest of your project. I also want to show you another way to add some paste down onto here. So one of my favorite pastes as of recently is the Astro paste in these kind of clear colors. So we just launched Astro paste in Phoenix Feather, and we also launched Astro paste in Unicorn Horn. And these are such cool colors because they are clear iridescent glitter inside of both of these. And Unicorn Horn has that little blue sparkle, so it's going to be kind of a cool iridescent look. And Phoenix Feather has that warm sparkle, and that's going to give you kind of a warm sparkly glow. But both of them have a clear base to them, so once they dry, you're not going to see the paste. You're just going to end up seeing the glitter. And you can also layer it on top of colors and still see through it. There's also frostbite. So if you don't want it to be sparkly at all and you want it to be more of like a icicle kind of look and kind of like a crystallized sparkle, you'll go in with frostbite. And so that has the clear shine because it is completely clear. You don't really see a sparkle from the glitter, more as like a kind of crackly frostbite is really the perfect term for it. It's kind of a frostbite look to it. So I'm gonna go in with Unicorn Horn because I want it to sparkle a little bit and I really want you to be able to see that bluish purple sparkle. But again, the frostbite might be a really cool look as well. And what I'm gonna do with this is I'm just gonna tap on some of this glitter. So I take a very little amount on my finger, super small amount here, and I'm just going to tap that through the project. And not rubbing it, because you don't want to rub the glitter around. You just want to take the tiniest little bit and start tapping it on. And I'm really kind of following the lines of these ski slopes to just add kind of glitter around there and make it look like, again, snow kind of piled up around the edges as people were skiing. And now you get that kind of glistening, powdery look. So really fun to use some of these pastes and mediums to really bring this ski slope and this Streamline embossing folder to life. I think it's so cool. Really a fun way to do it. And then let's go up here, do this. And I think I'm gonna use this kind of bottom half. So I don't need to do all the way up on the card, but I'm gonna do this one too, and just lightly tap it through. Again, I'm using such a small amount of paste. You don't wanna add too much because then you're gonna kind of overwhelm it with too much texture. Of course, if you want more texture, add more paste down, but I want this to be more sparkle, less texture, so I'm adding a lot less paste. And also, the benefit of adding it thin like this is it dries so quickly. So this is gonna be dry in a matter of like a minute or so. And what's awesome is once this dries, it's not gonna come off on your recipient's hand. I always get worried about that with other glitter products because glitter is my biggest enemy. It's the most nightmarish product to clean off because it's everywhere, whereas this kind of stays in that glue formula there, or that kind of base of the paste. It's not really gluey, sorry, but it kind of acts like a glue would when you're applying glitter down. But once it's completely dry, so I'll go in here and you can always heat set these pastes. I'm just gonna go in with my Ranger heat tool and go in and just lightly heat set all around. And again, it only takes a matter of seconds, especially with the heat, to dry it nice and thin like this. And then, oh, is my camera gonna catch it? I hope you guys can see that glittery sparkle. I don't know if it's gonna capture. Yeah, it's hard to see, but in real life, that glitter, I'm telling you guys. I'm gonna show you on, oh, there we go. Can you see it? So you can see the beluga in the background kind of illuminating the whole background, but then can you see those sparkles all throughout? It's so cool. And in real life, let me tell you, it looks a lot stronger. It is so much fun. So I think there is a bundle of these pastes, Gina. Check over at Ranger and check at scrapbook.com. They should have at least a bundle of these two, and then you can get frostbite on the side as well. But super fun. I love all the techniques that I showed you with the different solar pastes and the clear Astro pastes because it keeps this background white until you tilt in the light, and then you start to see all that amazing stuff that you added, and it really comes to life, which I think is awesome. All right. Now I want to show you how to add ink. Of course, you could add ink to the Streamline background, but I want to add ink down to this Plaster folder and really show you what this is going to look like too, because I think we're going to add the lodge on top of this Plaster background just to give a little bit of variation. So should we stay on this side? Yeah, I'm going to stay on this top side. So this is the embossed side. And when it comes to this Plaster folder, what's awesome about it is we can start off with a blending brush. So I'm gonna use my Simon Hurley medium blending brushes. Let me pull out this kind of teal brush, and then I'll also pull out this blue. And you know what? We also have one for this new color called Iced Out, which I think I'm gonna probably end up using. So let me pull that out as well. I have more than you need. You probably only need like 12 blending brushes, but I have a couple more just because for lighter colors like this, I don't wanna have to clean it every time. But what I like to always tell people is in between colors, instead of going to the sink and really wetting it down, what you can do is go in with your blending brush. If you're about to switch colors or you used a different color last, go in and wipe this off and then go into the new color that you want to use. So let's see, I want to use, where is it? It's gonna take me a second to find. Here is Iced Out. I wanna use this color to start off with, which is this kind of icy greenish blue color. And of course, this blending brush I have dedicated to Iced Out in general, but if you were to go from one color to another, I usually go into this ink pad then with the blending brush, and then I'll start wiping off and go into ink and wipe off until you notice that your color is nice and clear and to the next original color you want to use. The blending brushes don't hold as much ink as other blending tools, so cleaning them out with just a dry paper towel is a really great way to clean them before you move into the next color, okay? So going on into Iced Out, I'm using my blending brush to start out with, and I'm just going to go right onto the background and start blending this out. Now, with blending brushes, you're not gonna see much depth when you apply it down over an embossing folder like this, because the blending brush is, all those little bristles are going all into the details here. So it's giving a smooth and even coverage on top of the surface, but it's also gonna apply that same amount of color into the grooves of the folder. So we're getting a really nice, smooth, even blend across the surface. This is a nice light color, especially if you apply it a little bit lighter handed. And I love these blending brushes from my line. We just restocked them as well. So if you use the links below, you can get 12 for the price of 10 at Ranger. There's a bundle going on there, but then there's also that 10% off discount using the code, I think exclusive or exclusives. Check out the description box down below, and that will give you a link to these brushes too. But the brushes are awesome because the handle is at the top here. So by having the handle right at the top and not off to the side, you get control on how much pressure you want to apply here. So you can start off as light as you want, or you can go really heavy handed and get that super dark color right away and super quickly. So I love that you get the options here, but I'm starting off pretty light handed because we're gonna go a little bit darker in just a second here. But I'm just going in with kind of a light blend and a light wash of this color all throughout the background. And you know, now that I'm looking at it, I probably should have left some areas a little bit whiter, but it's not super dark so far. So then if we want to add more dimension to this card, I'm gonna show you another way to use the embossing folders and blend with them. So to do this, I'm gonna do, what color should I use? I'm gonna use, should I use the same color? Let me use a little bit more Iced Out. And let's go in here. And this time I'm going in with a blending foam. So these are the domed foam blending tools from Ranger and Tim. The awesome part about these is because they have that domed foam, it's going to only really hit the raised surfaces. These aren't going to go into as many of the details. So especially if you apply it really light like this, you're really going to hit the raised areas, and the rest is going to stay pretty light. So we can really choose some different areas on the folder that we want to highlight. Like I'll highlight this a little bit. You can see that became quite a bit darker on that surface, whereas over here it's still really light. So we can go in and hit some of the raised areas over here to get some of those details in the corner. So really cool that you have that option. Let me just show you over in this corner, because I'm not gonna use this on the card, that if you go in and blend more firmly, check out what you get. That is the difference between the blending sponge and the blending brush. The brush is gonna give you a smooth look. This is going to hit the raised areas a lot darker and really leave some of the edges white and some of the lower areas a lot lighter, okay? So cool though, I really love how this looks. And then what's awesome about this is my inks are reactive with water. So you can go in, and if you want like a little bit more snow texture to it and kind of a splatter, I'm gonna go in, and with this distress sprayer, I just take it and I just pull that little sprayer trigger a little tiny bit, and that's gonna give you little drops all over. So this is gonna give you little drops and kind of give you a like mixed media look, but it'll look more like the texture of snow. So check that out. As it's reacting, do you see that color kind of coming off? In different areas, you get those little tiny dots bleached all over the place. So cool. It really adds a lot of texture to the blending. Let me go in with a little cloth and clean up our surface, and then we'll go in and heat set this to dry it. And now we have two really amazing backgrounds. And of course, you can use either one of these techniques on both of them. So if you want to go in and use these pastes on the plaster folder, go ahead and do it. And then if you want to go in and use the inks and really play with whether you're using a blending brush or whether you're using the blending foams to give kind of different dimension with only one ink color, or you use different ink colors and give dimension with it, I wanted to show you the difference between the blending tools, because there is a time and place for both, and they're going to give you really different effects as you're blending with them. For this snow one, I really like that smooth look of the blending brush. And then of course you can always highlight just little areas here and there with the other blending sponge. So really cool backgrounds. I love how these turned out. Let me set them off to the side. We're gonna finish off the cards in a little bit, but now let's go in and build some of these die cuts that we're doing, okay? So for these die cuts, I actually went in with the die sets beforehand because these have little pieces for sure. I wanted to make sure to die cut them beforehand. So here I'm using the craft stacks containers from Spellbinders. I love these containers. I have to link them down below after the live. I think I forgot to, but what's awesome about these is they have little lids on top like this, so they're gonna stay together. That way, whatever's inside of here isn't going to come loose if you have it in like stacked or whatever. But then also I love that they have the top area of the lid that you can put other die cuts in. And then I also really appreciate that they stack. So there's like 4 in a pack, 3 or 4 in a pack, and you can stack them on top of each other. And I just prep my projects like this a lot. So you'll definitely see me using these a ton because they are very, very helpful for little projects like this and all these little die cuts. So let's go in starting off with the skiers. For these, I'm not gonna really do too much shading and dimension. I don't think I'm gonna really do any, to be honest. But if you want to, now I'll show you more shading and dimension on the lodge. You know I can't help myself usually, but here I wanna just show you how to put these pieces together so you can really easily glue them by yourself, okay? So for these guys, I'm gonna go in with my Barely Arts liquid adhesive, and then I'm also going to go in, I like to have a little tweezers on hand as I'm doing this, and I also like to have this tool from scrapbook.com. It has a little pokey side, and it also has a little wax tip on the other side, so it makes it really easy to pick up little die cuts and kind of plop them down with this little pick tool. So I've cut all these little guys out of several different colors of cardstock. All of the legs are all together, all of the bodies are all together, scarves are all on one, mittens are all on one, so you can really go in and cut them out of a bunch of different colors and you've already got 3 outfits done. But then if you want to do separate colors, you'll just have to die cut it out again. But then you get, 3 of each, so you're really easily able to create the skiers. It's not too time consuming at all. And then let's go in and really easily put these together. So I'm gonna start off with this blue one. This is a skier. So for his little legs there's these little tiny lines where the boots meet and also where the top of that body is. So we're going to be following these lines as we put the die cut together. So really easily for the legs or for the boots, we're gonna go in with a little bit of liquid adhesive and put that glue right down. Then we'll go in with our little sticky end die pick. And this, again, just makes it so easy to place down those little pieces because it's got that nice wax tip. And then we can bring in the other end and just move it around until it lines up perfectly. Cute. And then we've got our 2 little boots on. Awesome. So it's already coming together nice and easy. Then we're gonna add a little bit of liquid adhesive. And again, that line is there. I love that Spellbinders adds these lines. I always request them because nobody wants to struggle or really figure out where things go or eyeball it. So with these little lines, I swear they're easier to see in person than they are on camera. That's going to make it very easy for you to glue all these pieces down and not have any guesswork as to where things go. Okay. Then there's these little tiny mittens. These are really easy as well, and they've also got an extended kind of line there. So what's awesome about this is you just put that glue where that line is, and then you can pick the little guy up and just place that right on top. And it lines up perfectly with the back of the arm. You might want to do this on your desk, but I want to just show you close up. So I'm struggling a little bit because I have to show you on camera, but if I didn't have to show you, it's definitely a little bit easier. But I'm not gonna under exaggerate. These are small little pieces, but there's not too many of them to put together. So as long as you have these little tools, it's very easy to get a hold of them and put everything together. And then this is what I like to do. So what I like to do is have it on my surface and then place it right into it. That's a lot easier than holding it upright, and you'll get a nice glued little mitten in. All right, super simple. And then we're gonna go in with the scarf. So all of these guys have little scarves that you'll want to glue down, and you'll glue down the scarves before you put their head on, okay? So their little scarf is going to go right here. We'll add a little bit of glue right down to that neck area. And then this is the little neck piece for the scarf. How adorable is that? And then we'll flip this over, and outside we'll just glue little glue onto the back, and then we can again just place this right down. I want this darker piece right in the back. And all you're going to do, and this one you can kind of just play around until you like how it looks. But actually no, sorry, this is going to go first. And it's going to be like this, so that is a good angle. And then we'll place the other piece right below it. And it's going to look something like this. That's the only thing you have to kind of eyeball, but still so easy to do. The trays are craft stacks containers. It's craft and then stacks spelled with an X at the end. And then for the face, we're going to put a little bit of glue down. We're going to go in here with the face, place that right down. I love their little smiles, and I like that the face isn't too detailed. It makes it more graphic and less kind of creepy. I find sometimes if you have a really small thing like this and you try to cram a whole face in there, it's really difficult. So we made them a lot more graphic so that we didn't have to run into that issue. I actually forgot to cut it out of brown hair, I think. So this guy is getting black hair. He's gonna have to deal with that. And then we can go in with the little goggles too, if you want to. I always like to add them, but they do have eyeballs too. So if you don't want to add the goggles down, you don't need to. And I'll go in and glue those down. Adorable. This is so cute. I literally, like, when I first saw this, I just about passed out when I was creating these for the sample, because like this is just, it's the most adorable little set of skiers ever. Okay, then for the skis, we're gonna do really simple. All you do with these is you just take the feet, you add a little bit of glue to the back, and then you'll place the skis down. So all you need to do is just stomp their little feet in, just like you would real skis. Just stomp them in like you do with the bindings. And then we'll put one a little bit further in front than the other, and there is our skier. How cute is that? I love it. I'm obsessed. Okay, then we have these little skiing poles. Of course, if you want to add these, you totally can. There's like a lot of details that you don't need to include in these sets, but we always like to add them just so that you have the option to. And I love these little skiing poles. I think it makes it look even more realistic and fun. Those little details really make these come to life. So all you do is just tuck this behind the hand. It'll overlap with the little skis. And then we'll go in and add a little bit of glue onto the other hand. That is so much fun. I'm obsessed. I can't wait to add this down to one of our backgrounds, okay? Then let me show you how to put together the snowboarder. Again, very easy to do. We have this little snowboard here, and then we'll start off with the legs first. So again, there's little lines on their boots. Let me show you how fast I can put it together this time. So we'll add down a little bit of glue, because I know that sometimes with Christmas stuff, it's all about you wanting to be fast if you're making several different cards. So let me show you how quickly we can put this together without explaining everything. So because it's a very similar process, it's just a different angle. And again, you run this set through one time, and you'll actually get all three bodies, all three legs, and that makes it very easy to do. And then we'll add down the little hands. I think I'm doing good so far. You can see it's a lot quicker when I'm not yapping. And then again, I find that like placing things down onto my craft surface to just give it a little bit of like stability, and then putting the other die cut into it helps to kind of glue those down steadily. And then again, stomp them right into those bindings. And so good. Now these don't have any shading on these die cuts. I just used the color wheel cardstock colors from Spellbinders and used those straight out. And because these are smaller images, it doesn't really matter, I don't think, but I will show you adding a little bit of ink around the edges or to some of these die cuts, like you'll see I added in the middle of the snowboard where his feet would be. It just adds a little bit more depth and dimension. So if you want to, you can always add more ink on top to color it in. I've showed you guys that about a million times in other videos. So I didn't need to do it today, but you can definitely do that on these guys to get a little bit more depth and dimension if you want to. Okay, now let's jump into doing the lodge. I think mainly for this lodge, I want to do a little bit of shading on some of the pieces. Not all of them. I don't think everything needs it, but I do really think that it could benefit to have a little bit of shading on some of these larger pieces. Okay, so we'll go into here, and I'm just going to go in with my Stellar ink pads. And if you guys didn't know, there's 12 new colors of Stellar inks. We used that iced out color earlier today. That is one of the brand new colors, so definitely check out my most recent live stream before this if you want to see the 12 new ones and you want to add them to your collection. So I'm going in with the medium blending brush and my Weeping Willow ink, and I'm just going to go right around the edges, so do a nice light tap into the ink, and then blend around the edge, and that's going to give me some depth and dimension to this little A-frame ski lodge. And I think on a large image like this, having a little bit of depth like that really helps bring it to life. With this chimney, I'm gonna add depth from the bottom. And then with this kind of porch area, I'm gonna go in and add depth to either side. Okay, cool, you know what, we're gonna add it on the stairs too, because like I said, once I start, I can't stop. Okay, so I'm not gonna do shading on everything else, but in my example, I did, so if you want to really go all out, you totally can. As you're building this lodge, you do want to kind of do it on a piece of cardstock, so I probably should do it on my background. That way it's just ready to go and already finished. So I'm gonna cut this right down because we're gonna be gluing things directly down to the cardstock, like the base of the house. I'm gonna go in here with my Barely Arts glue, and we'll add down the base of that lodge right at the bottom here. And I'm gonna leave a little bit of room at the bottom for the sentiment. Start off with that base of the lodge, that's helpful to do, and then we'll glue this right on top and just kind of center it right into the middle. 1 second. If you want to add the chimney as well, you're gonna go in here and add this right down. Before you glue everything down, I probably should have done this, but also I think on my example too, I forgot to, and let me be honest, it's pretty easy to sneak underneath here when you have liquid glue. So I'm gonna sneak that right underneath, just like that. And then we'll just glue down that piece right again. And nobody will ever know except for us in this live stream. Okay, then let's go in and glue down the top piece of that chimney. There's the little top edge. Again, you don't need to do every single little detail, but if you want to, it can be very helpful to do. So this little rectangle piece of the chimney is right here, and we can glue that right down. Then we'll work on the A-frame now. So with this, we're going in with the snow first. Michelle said, is this my first die set with smaller dies? No, not really. We have quite a few little die sets, especially like North Pole Friends has quite a few little dies. If you also want help, that's not just a video from me and you want more help, there is images on the Spellbinders site and maybe on scrapbook.com too, I'm not quite sure yet, but there is little like guide images. And so it will show you all of the pieces from the set, how they're kind of grouped, and then it'll show you where they belong on the die set. So it'll show you on the example like where to put them. So if you're struggling ever, definitely check that out. That's super helpful. Now, with this house, if you want to, you can add these lights down. If you don't want to, you can skip it, okay? I think I'm gonna skip it for today's because I added it in this one. I want them without the lights here. But if you want to add the lights down, it's very simple to do. You have this bottom piece and you also have this little top piece. I cut this one in green to look like Christmas lights. You add this right on top, then it makes the lights kind of peek out throughout the green, and you glue them right down onto the cabin, okay, underneath this layer before you add the rooftop down. I'm gonna skip that to save time because it's a little piece. And I'm gonna go in with just the rooftop here. All right, and we'll add this right down. And to do this, you just glue it right down and it should line up perfectly with that A-frame edge. Now we have the doors and windows and things like that that we can add down. So starting off with the frame of the door, we're going to add that right to the front and center and base of our little lodge. Cute. And I did this in black. And then there's this little triangle A-frame window. Of course, you could skip it if you want to, but I think it's adorable. So we'll add that right above, centered in that little area. And then we can go in, glue down the door on top. I cut out a little red door, which I think is so cute. And again, there's a little line that is debossed into the design to really easily line that up. And there's also a little debossed window. I know, right? The A-frame is so fun. I think it's so adorable. And then there's also a little window for the triangle piece up top. And you just follow the little guidelines that are already on the pieces, debossed into them. Okay, so super easy to add those areas down. Again, you can go into as many details or as little as you want. I'm missing those lights already. I wish I did it, but I didn't for today's example. I wanted to show you it could be easier if you want it to be. Then for these little kind of fences, you can add these to the front of the lodge. I think this adds a lot of character, so we're gonna add this down. Gives it some curb appeal, as they say. So I'm gonna add this down to the left side. And this just goes right onto here. It actually like lodges kind of on top of the A-frame, so that's how you know where to line it up. And then it sort of goes right up against that door. Okay, then there's these little stairs, which I think are so cute. And we're gonna add these right down front and center underneath the door. Now, if you want to, there is also little pieces that you can add on top of the ladder to give it more dimension. I'm gonna skip that because I don't wanna add those down. That's too much detail for me, but it gives it more dimension if you feel like adding those down. So there are my lodges there today. This is the one I made in a rush on the live. This is the one I made beforehand for the example. You can see they're a little bit different. I love the little lights that we added in that set though, so you could definitely add those on here and get a really adorable look with it lit up. But I really wanted to save some time because I have one more thing I want to show you before the live stream ends, and it's going to take a little bit of time, so I wanted to make sure that we still had time to do it. Now for these trees, I'm going to just go in and add a little bit of depth using some of my ink. This is just leftover ink. It's probably 4 or Ivy League on the blending brush, and I just blended it right onto those trees. And then there's little tree stumps if you want to add those below, but I don't even think I want to use the stumps. I think I just want to glue them on either side of this lodge. I think that's cute. Or should we just add one? No, I think both. So cute. And now we just need a sentiment for this. And then let's work on the other card, and then let's do the sentiments, okay? Sorry that I'm a little bit winded today. I'm taking a little bit longer, but I just wanted to show you all the things. So I think for this one, we'll do a side folding, or no, let's still do top folding. So for this, I'm gonna trim it down again to just have a really thin border on either side. And the really fun part about this is we get to add our little skiers and snowboarders down. So I'll make the snowboarder kind of follow this line over here, and then I'll make the skier, let's see. I want it to be down in this corner. There's not exactly a line right there, but that's where I want it to be. So I'm gonna just add it down there. Let's keep kind of following some of the lines at least. And then just be careful, just be gentle. These are little pieces. And just add some liquid glue all over the back to glue it down. Gonna stick that down. They're really bold and graphic, and they really stand out on a card like this. And there's also a girl inside of this set too. So longer hair and a dress as well. I didn't make it for today's card because I wanted just 2, but you could totally do that as well. I love the options and the variety that you get in this set for sure. Okay, now let's talk about sentiments. Do you guys have a little bit of extra time? Maybe, hopefully only like 10 more minutes, okay? Let's talk about sentiments. Now, I'm going to hot foil in a different live stream because I think that's going to take a little bit too long. But just know you can use the Betterpress along with hot foil as well. If you have the Glimmer hot foil machine, it will coordinate with that as well. So you can get the most beautiful, professional looking foiled results from these Betterpress plates, which I think is so awesome. But today I'm going to show you how to Betterpress because I think that's more new for some of you guys. And I want you to understand how it works so you can decide if you want to get your hands on it or not, okay? So let's jump in with this set. So it's got the sentiments on one side, it's got the die on the other, 1 and 1. That way it takes one pass to do all 8 sentiments, which I think is awesome, okay? It's gonna save you a lot of time when you're crafting. How do I say this? I think there's some thought out there that you need to buy every single thing with the Betterpress, and that's really just not true. Now, if you want to get Betterpress results that are impressed with a little bit of texture that look like letterpress, you're gonna want to pick up the Betterpress cotton cardstock. That is the best way to get the texture and kind of all of the effects of the Betterpress. However, this is kind of expensive, and I understand that you don't, like if you've already invested in the system, you don't want to always keep buying the same cardstock. So maybe you buy Betterpress cardstock for the most specialty cards, but I want to show you that it also works really great with just your regular cardstock. This is my Simon Hurley Stark White cardstock. It's not gonna give you as impressed of a texture, but that's totally okay, okay? I want you to understand that even if you get the system, you don't always have to keep buying. You can still just use your regular supplies that you have as well. So I'm going in with a little bit of mint tape to hold this down. I love mint tape because it won't rip my cardstock. And I'm just going to place it on either side. You don't want to tape underneath the cardstock. You want it to be completely flat and flush against this, otherwise it's going to mess it up, okay? For the sentiments, I'm gonna go in using just black because I think that's going to coordinate the best, but there's a lot of different Betterpress colors. Dina Wakely has a line with the Betterpress inks as well. I like these mini pads from Spellbinders. These are made with Ranger. They're a similar formula to the archival ink, except they're a little bit thicker, so they work really well on these plates. You can try out whatever inks you have at home, but I do recommend these mainly just because of how small they are. They're very easy to navigate on these plates, but if you have other mini inks, definitely try them out. Now, when it comes to inking up with the Betterpress, I know this is long-winded, hopefully it all makes sense, okay? These are felt pads. They're not foam like my Stellar inks. So you're gonna have to go a little bit firmer. Now, just taps like this isn't gonna give you the best coverage, okay? It's just not. With these felt pads from Ranger, you're going to want to give some good pressure and tap, but also like kind of twist and do a little shimmy as you make contact with these sentiments. That's gonna give you the best coverage. It's gonna give you jet black coverage on your Betterpress plates, and it's going to give you such a great sentiment impression. Now, I love to do sentiments as Betterpress, sometimes instead of stamps, because I just love that you can impress all of them at once. You get that really cool texture. I love that you can foil with them. Really, that is one of the main reasons, because I think that foiling is so professional. But this is like so good too, because it's almost the better version of stamping. And let me show you why, okay? So we've got all this done. Now the Betterpress is really fun because this is magnetic, so it's not gonna move that plate around. And then you flip this over with the cardstock and it's going to line up with those pieces and magnet down. Now, as long as you don't touch it, that is hovering above the cardstock, okay? It's not gonna make contact until you run it through your machine. So don't press down on it. It's hovering over with that magnetic system. And then you need a larger die cutting machine. So you need the Platinum 6 for this, or the actual regular Platinum. You can't use a Scout for this. The machine is just far larger than Scout, so it's not gonna work inside of there, okay? So Platinum 6 die cutting machine, we got our Betterpress. We're going to run this through with no added plates, okay? No added die cutting plates. And you're going to run this slowly through your die cutting machine, okay? This is going to be what presses down and makes contact with your cardstock, and it's gonna give us amazing results in the Betterpress. I can't wait to show you this. When I first used the Betterpress, and I have a whole video on it if you want to learn even more about it before you're interested in investing, just look up like Simon Hurley Betterpress and it should come up. And then lift this off the magnets and check that out. It is just the most amazing stamped impression. It's so crisp. And I've even got to say, because the Stark White cardstock is thicker than some other cardstocks, you still do get that texture. It's not as impressed as the cotton cardstock, but you definitely still get a little bit of texture. I don't know if you can see it there, but it gives a letterpress look. So that is why the Betterpress is so cool. It really gives flawless coverage every single time. And that's what I love so much about it. And I love those little inks too, because they're very permanent. So it dries almost instantly, very permanent on the cardstock, and you can watercolor over it if you want to with outline images and stuff like that. To clean this, you can go in, and if you really want this clean, okay, you can go in with archival ink cleaner. It's gonna leave it just a little bit stained, but it'll get the most clean as possible, okay? I don't love to do this. Sometimes it leaves a little bit of a greasy residue on your plates and won't ink as well. It's a great cleaner, but I just don't use it every single time. A lot of times I'll just go in with water, which I know kind of resists the inks, but as long as that ink is at least still a little bit wet, if you go in with water and kind of a microfiber cloth and just a little bit of pressure, you can see that we're getting the excess ink off for sure, okay? Is it gonna remove the ink completely? No, it's gonna leave a little bit of a stain here or there, but that is what your Betterpress plate is gonna look like. It's gonna look well loved after a couple times of inking, but I just clean off with water right after inking, and you'll get it pretty decently clean, okay? It's still gonna stain a little bit, but that's how you know your tools are loved and you're using them, which you should use your tools and not be afraid to make them just a little bit messy. Okay, so now, included inside of this set is also a die. I promise I'm almost done. I'm so sorry. This is going a little bit longer than I expected. So this is the coordinating die, and it's also on the same panel. So all 8 of these will cut out at the exact same time, which I love. I love that you get the printing and the cutting at the exact same time. It's amazing because it just saves you so much time while crafting. Yes, this takes a couple minutes to do, but you then have 8 sentiments to put on your Christmas cards. So there's lots of other sets of Betterpress sentiments that I have done in the past. You can check them out. They're really great. A lot of them have very Christmassy sentiments on them. Some of them have more like joy to the world, Merry Christmas. This is more snow themed. So there's snow placed like home for the holidays, baby it's cold outside, sending snow much love, that kind of thing is in this set. It's more winter kind of snow themed than Christmas themed itself, okay? And we'll pull this out and check out how easily all of these pop out, and now you have 8 different sentiments you can use on your card. Starting off with the skiing card, let's go in and add down the sentiment that says Season's Greetings. I think that is so cute. Should we add it there? We could add it above there. I think down here. Right here seems like the perfect open spot. That is so adorable. I love it. I love all the dimension we were able to add in this. It's a very simple card, keeping that snow from the Streamline set nice and bright white, but then going in with a bunch of the solar paste and that Astro paste and the unicorn horn gives it a ton of sparkle and shine. It makes it look like it's glistening snow, which is so awesome. I love these little skiers all over the background too. Really brings the card to life beautifully. Then let's go in with our little ski lodge on this background. How cute is that? And then we'll go in and pop this right up below those stairs, just overlapping just a little bit. How cute is that? And yes, Scrappa Cat says, love the cabin. This is, like, we made it intended to be a ski lodge kind of thing with the A-frame look, but I love this because we have a little cabin as well, and I think if someone invited you up to their cabin, or you spend a place with someone at an Airbnb, or you're going out in nature, this is really fun for that as well. It doesn't have to be snow. You don't always have to add that snowy area down. It can just be a lodge without the snow on top of it. But I think this is so much fun for that kind of thing as well. So much fun to bring in old and new product and bring in inks and pastes along with this Season's Greetings launch and really show you how to put everything together. It was a lot of details that went through today, but I hope that this video is really great for you guys in case if you purchase these sets, or even if you want to just learn some of these techniques about embossing folders that we did, that you can really go in and follow step by step as I slowly put them together so you won't get confused as you're putting your die cuts together. So I hope that was very helpful. It has been so much fun to have all of you guys join me live. And if you're watching the replay, thank you so much as well. This launch means a lot to me. Like I said, I've been trying to do these kind of skier designs for several years now, and Spellbinders just really hit the nail on the head. So again, it's all available now. Links are down below to scrapbook.com and Spellbinders. You can also probably check it out at Ranger as well, I think. And definitely go shopping and check those out so you can create some really fun winter themed cards for the rest of the year. And I don't know about you, but these products will last probably up until February for us in Wisconsin here, because it's mainly a winter theme and not so much Christmas themed, and snow will definitely still be here in February. So I will be in my parka until February crafting with these supplies, and I can't wait to see what you all create with them. I'll see you guys very soon for another card making and crafting video or live stream, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Bye everyone.